keep those.
Well, thank you.
And you can exchange and trade and quiz each other all you want. Now, these are all people. Now, if we get repeats, we'll trade out for another.
James Madison.
Ah!
What?
Who knows about that guy? Not me.
Who's that?
James
Oh,
Madison.
we both got the same person.
Ah.
Both got John.
All right.
I'll read.
Now, you want to read on? All right. And we'll even stick it. We'll keep this one out because then there'll be less of a chance that you pick it again.
Oh, I picked it.
You must have a magnetic reaction to him.
Benjamin Franklin.
Benjamin Franklin.
I had John Adams.
John Adams.
James Madison.
James Madison.
Well, that's certainly a good group of people.
All right. Benjamin Franklin. So for Mary, Virginia, Benjamin Franklin was the oldest delegate at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He was 70 years old in 1776. He came back 11 years later in 1787 to also sign the United States Constitution at 81 years old. Quite a feat. So, very important man who lived in Philadelphia, and you might know that he also was a diplomat overseas, either in England or in France. Let's go with 8 years.
James Madison.
Oh, James Madison. Yes.
What do you know about him?
He's scared to say.
I know he's from Virginia,
Yes, that's all right.
and he left at an early age to go to college.
Not necessarily too early. It was the right time to go for a normal young man. Yes.
He signed the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, I was too young for that. There's another one I did.
Constitution.
Yes, I signed the Constitution. Very good. Excellent. Who do you have?
I have John Adams.
John Adams. Now I have another quote for you. Remember we had the other quote about the preamble to the Constitution. John Adams describes himself in this way. Because when he came to Pennsylvania to try and write the Declaration of Independence, they had a committee of 5 men in order to do that together. And one of them was my good friend, Mr. Jefferson. Well, Mr. Jefferson thought that Mr. Adams would be the one that would write the Declaration of Independence because he had a great reputation, very learned man, successful lawyer, and he had come from the area in Boston, Massachusetts, where all of this rabble-rousing and muckraking had happened. But you see, Mr. Adams had something else in mind. He thought Jefferson should write it, being the up-and-comer, because he had a great writing style. He gave 3 reasons. And this is exactly what he said. Reason first, you are a Virginian, and a Virginian ought to be at the head of this business. Reason second, I'm obnoxious, suspected, and unpopular. You are much otherwise. Reason third, you can write much better than I can. So Jefferson resigned himself, and with the committee, he sequestered himself for about 3 weeks and came out with the Declaration of Independence. Something else that I find funny about Mr. Adams, and you know, in the dinner last night, our year was June the 9th, 1798, so he is our president of the United States right now. And after he signed the Declaration of Independence, he said this, and I quote, "It ought to be celebrated with pomp and parade, with games, shows, guns, sports, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore." The old curmudgeon wanted a party. He self-described himself as obnoxious, but he wanted a party. I thought the irony there was quite humorous. But then he did this. He said a quote that stayed with me all this time. I don't think it will ever leave me. He said, posterity, we've already addressed that word, to differentiate it from prosperity. So posterity, future generations, which you correctly define, future generations that he will never know. He said, posterity, you will never know what it costs the present generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make good use of it. If you do not, I shall repent in heaven that ever I took half the pains to preserve it. I rather think that's how he would have said it. So you're welcome to keep those coins. And now part 3 of our little game here is not a game at all. It's